What's up, guys? Welcome back to CagedIn MMA. It's your host, Ebit Chiwa, and we are talking UFC 304. This is officially episode 19. And if you guys know, we always start off with the Dana White call out. So, Dana White, I've been a fan for so long. Look at all these puppets I have UFC Watch, Bruce Buffer's Cologne, you know what I'm saying? And I've never been to an actual UFC event. So, I'm trying to fly out, trying to get give me some tickets or something, you know what I'm saying? And I've never been because it's like I live in Georgia. You don't make events here. So, I'm trying to, that's a flight ticket, that's a UFC ticket and hotel and all that stuff, Uber, car, whatever. So, fly me out, bro. I've been a fan for decades and not decades, but over a decade. And I've been keeping up with all these fights. I've been a fight fan for so long and I just love the game. I love the sport. So, like I said, and this is why, I like making these podcasts. It's really because it's fun. I like, breaking down, not really breaking down every fight, but talking about, the main fights and all that stuff and things like that. So it's very exciting. Plus, I keep up with the fighters and, I watch typically all like the videos, the Ultimate Fighter, series and things like that. So it's just fun. So if you're also a fight fan, this is where we just, have fun, break down fights for fun, and talk about the fighters for fun. So let's go ahead and start. Guys, we always start off with trivia as well. So I got 3 questions. Typically, if you get it wrong, then if you're listening with a friend or something, they could kick you, punch you, whatever. And typically, if I were to, in the earlier episodes when I would do this with other people, if we got it wrong, they'd kick me, punch me, etc. So 3 questions. First question for UFC 304. How many fighters from England are on the card? And I'll give you guys a few seconds to answer the question. So, ready? There are 12 fighters on the card from England. So, card's pretty stacked with English fighters. And I'm very excited, obviously, the fight being there. Um, you know, I'm super excited for. So, now, here's the second question. Again, based off location. Who was the first English champ? This one might be pretty easy for you guys, especially the fight fans. Even if you're a casual, I think that this one should be pretty easy. Uh, hint, I mean, he commentates and stuff like that, and then obviously a previous fighter, etc. But that's a big hint. Anyways, the answer is Michael Bisping. Yes, sir. Champ in 2016. So, obviously, then he got, that's when the return of the great GSP, my boy right here, returned and claimed that middleweight belt. But Michael Bisping, the first English UFC champ. So, last but not least, last question. This, again, should be easy even for the casuals and for the longtime fight fans. And this is a crazy, well known quote, I guess you could say. And just if you could remember the last piece of it or right before it, it's good enough. So, last question. What did John Anik say right before Leon's head kick against Kamaru Usman? Of course, when he won the UFC belt. You probably already guessed it and know it, but that is not the cloth from which he is made. No. Bah! Straight head kick. So, those are the 3 questions. If you got it right, good job and congrats. You don't get hit. If you got one wrong, two wrong, you got to get punched, somewhere, kicked in the legs. So, right now we're going to talk about the main card. There are a lot of great fights on the card, but I realize keeping it shorter, keeping it, you know, uh, I guess talking about the main fights, you guys enjoy more, watch more, and I guess you could say y'all are more just y'all's attention span is more there. So let's go ahead and start the main card with Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Now, that's a tough name, to kind of say. But Giga, we'll go with that. So let's go ahead and start off with him. He has 9 knockout wins, 1 submission wins. His most notable wins are against Caceres, which is recent, Barboza, and Cub Swanson. Obviously, these guys, Barboza, crazy kickboxer, Cub Swanson, a legend. And it's just crazy because he doesn't have obviously like a huge record. They kind of have like similar records, and we'll go into Arnold Allen in a little bit. But he did also lose to Calvin Cater, which is also a veteran in the sport. So I'm super excited to see him fight again against obviously one of the most well-known fighters, which is Arnold Allen, and a very well-known fighter, I should say. And let's go ahead and get into Arnold Allen. He has 7 knockout wins, 4 submission wins. Now, he did recently lose back-to-back fights against Evlev and Holloway. Holloway, obviously a dog, going to be soon fighting for that belt again, and a former champion. But he beat Cater, which, obviously we just talked about how Giga lost to, but he beat Cater. He's beat Yusuf. He's beat Hooker, Dan Hooker. So Arnold Allen is one of those where, especially even now, but especially in the beginning of his career and things like that, especially going into the UFC, I was like, oh man, this guy is definitely going to be a top contender and things like that, which he is. And man, he's just a dog. He has a record of 19-3 compared to Giga's, which is 15-3. So very similar records. Arnold Allen obviously has the experience on his hands, and but I'm definitely excited for this fight. Arnold Allen is kind of like one of those just entertaining fighters, and one that once you have him on the card, especially a card like this, is super great and fun to watch. So I'm definitely excited for that fight. Let me know who you guys think is going to win this fight. I I guess I could give my predictions. I don't really give my predictions, only because some people are biased and stuff like that. But as a fan, I should. You know what I'm saying? And uh, I don't bet, but on the UFC 5 game, if you guys didn't know, they kind of have like you set your picks and stuff like that. I typically get number one, not number one like out of everybody, but like they have like levels, I guess you could say, and right near like community high score and stuff like that. And I typically do really good. So yeah, obviously I don't bet with real money, which I just like enjoying the sport. I feel like so. Let's go ahead and get into Gregory Rodriguez versus Christian Duncan. Rodriguez, he's 15-5, 10 knockout wins, 3 submission wins. Now this guy, he has a bit of a, I guess you could say, record, and he's been in the UFC for a while, and he's literally, he's a dog. So, most recently he beat Brad Tavares. He's beat Dennis Tialulian Marquez and Jun Young Park. So, this guy, he's if you guys don't know, he's from Brazil, and you guys probably, I mean, yeah, I mean, his most recent fight was against Brad Tavares, so you guys probably watched that fight. But very good fighter, 15-5 record, 10 knockouts out of 5. Out of 15 wins, and then 3 of those are submissions, which means 2 have gone to decision. So he's a good fighter, and typically, obviously, based off ratio and everything and percentage, typically ends in a finish when he wins. So let's go ahead and get into Christian Duncan. He's 10-1, 8 knockout wins, 1 submission win. He beat Ribeiro, and he's also beat Tialulan. So this guy, obviously, as well, his finish rate is very high. Out of 10 wins, he has 9 finishes, 8 knockouts, 1 submission win. And when you talk about ratio and percentage, does this fight go to distance? I don't believe so. I really don't think so. I think it ends in a knockout or a TKO. So I'm super excited for this fight. Um, and yeah, let me know what you guys think about this one. This one, obviously, the experience, I guess you could put it is with Gregory Rodriguez, but Christian Duncan is obviously as well very good, and he's getting that experience under his belt. With 10-1, he has a great record in MMA in general. So next, we got Bobby Green versus Patty the Batty Pimblett. And I actually got him right here. So let's go ahead and get started. These guys' records are actually pretty stacked, especially Bobby Green. He's obviously the most out of these two. He's the bigger veteran of the sport. But Bobby Green, this insane record. You ready for it? 32, 15, and 1. And I should have put that in the trivia because I know I did it in another one. So he's 32, 15, and 1, 11 knockouts, 9 submission wins, and he's beat Jim Miller, Tony Ferguson, Ali Quinta. This guy has fought top ranked fighters for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, he fell short with the belt against Islam. He's lost to Turner. He's lost to Drew Dober. He's lost to Fazeev. But if you obviously look at the fighters he's lost to, they're also very high caliber fighters. And again, Islam, he's champ. So there's no doubt that this guy has fought the best of the best in the division. And again, with 32 wins, 15 losses, and one no contest, this guy, 32, again, he doesn't have 32 fights. He has 32 wins. Most fighters don't even fight 32 times. A lot of fighters don't fight 32 times in pro MMA. And then you got 15 losses. Obviously, that's a decent amount of losses. But you go into the fact of who he's fought, the losses he has, the names he has for losses, and again, you even got Charles Oliveira, is super great in the sport with a high record like this as well. So Bobby Green is definitely one of those who's a dog, enjoyable to watch, and he could knock you out, he could submit you. And again, he's just a very entertaining fighter. Obviously, his fight against Jim Miller, dog fight, brutal fight at UFC 300. If you guys didn't watch it, go watch it. It was a dogfight. So, and yeah, I'm really excited to see this fight. Then we got Patty the Batty Pimblett. He's 21-3, 6 knockouts, 9 submission wins. He just beat Tony Ferguson. He's beat Gordon. Leave it, the other guy, and then Vargas. I say the other guy because I didn't know how to explain him. He's I was gonna say the one that acts fruity, but he has a daughter and stuff like that. But he'd be dancing and everything. But anyways, not the point. The point is, uh, this is where it kind of gets interesting, and here's why. I don't underestimate Tony Ferguson, but Patty Pimblett had kind of struggled a bit against Tony Ferguson. Now, comparing Bobby Green, how he went against Tony Ferguson, and how Patty went against Tony Ferguson, I would give Bobby the edge. Now, Bobby has the edge and experience and everything as well. Um, Patty has also had a debatable, you know, uh, win. I believe it was against Gordon, who that fight was just debatable. So it's he's been in an interesting run. Patty has been kind of on one of those runs right now where it's like as a fan you're hesitant in his, I guess, abilities against the top class fighters. So this is definitely going to prove, his skills and show his skills. Bobby Green, obviously, he's been a dog. He has experience. He's a great all-around fighter as well. So I'm definitely excited to see this fight, mainly to see, is Patty's hype, down now? Is Patty still living up to his hype, or is his reign kind of in hype, kind of going downhill now? So I'm very excited to see this fight. Patty was one of those where I especially in the earlier fights. Now I knew it was kind of like I knew he needed that extra push and extra edge. And like I said, Tony Ferguson is still a dog, but obviously, just, as a fan, you start being biased because of it. But at the same time, you got to realize Tony Ferguson has lost like 7 fights in a row, and, it's time for, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, for him to retire. Now, this being said, He's still a fan favorite. I still enjoy watch Tony Ferguson, and because again, I'm just a fan. But yeah, so we'll see how it is. Like I said, Patty had a debatable win against Gordon, and obviously Bobby Green, the way he's beat his last opponents and things like that, and even the losses he's had, like against Drew Dober, Bobby Green was putting up a good fight and everything. He got clipped, he got caught, but what if that fight did go to distance or things like that? So, like I said, this is definitely Patty's toughest opponent to date, and I'm very excited to watch it and see both of their skills. So next, let's talk about Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight interim belt. Let's start off with Curtis Blades. He has a record in himself as well. He's 18 wins, 4 losses, but listen to his 18 wins, guys. He has 13 wins by knockout, okay? He's beat Almeida. He beat Aspinall, if you guys didn't know. Now, many people will say, okay, Aspinall broke his leg, etc., things like that. It still counts as a win. Okay, he's beat Rosenstruik, he's beat Volkov, he's beat Dos Santos, he's beat Overeem, he's beat Mark Hunt. These guys are legends of the sport. These guys were fighting when literally, just like Joe Rogan said, they were doing sniff tests for roid tests. So guys, Curtis Blades is definitely a dog in himself. Unfortunately, he's lost to and he's always came short on the belt and lost to, contenders for the belt, such as Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Sergey Pavlovich, most recently, right? That Tom Aspinall beat, and we'll get into him in a little bit. But I'm excited for this fight. Obviously, Curtis Blades obviously has that experience under his belt. He's beat, you know, veterans of the sport and tough fighters. Now, obviously, saying this, obviously he's beat legends of the sport, but that means he's been in the UFC for a longer period of time as well. This comes with age. He's older and things like that. So I definitely am excited to see how this fight plays out. He last fought a very tough opponent, Almeida, and he was getting kind of like, he was getting beat. He kept getting taken down and everything like that. But again, this is the heavyweight division. Curtis Blades just tagged him kind of in the back of the head, not exactly in the back of the head. It was legal, but in the side of the head, things like that, ended up knocking Almeida out, which is crazy. It shows the power that Curtis Blades has and carries. So I'm definitely excited for this fight, and I can't wait to watch this fight as well. Next, we got Tom Aspinall. Let's talk about him. He's 14-3, 10 knockout wins and 4 submission wins. Every single win of Tom Aspinall has ended in a finish. He's beat Pavlovich, he's beat Tybura, Volkov, Spivak, Spivak, Orlovsky. So this guy also has a record in himself. Now, this is where, I was going to talk about, or just came up to my head. Guys, this guy had already fought Curtis Blades. Okay. Now it ended pretty short because of Aspinall's, unfortunate injury. But I'm definitely excited for this fight. Many people also say, now this is for the interim belt. John Jones has the actual, undisputed heavyweight belt, and most likely he's going to fight Stipe Miocic. Now, I won't talk about that until the fight comes into play. Many people know my opinion when it comes to who's the greatest fighter of all time. It is John Jones. Many people say Jones is ducking Aspinall. Guys, during this time, you didn't know, Aspinall was injured when Stipe and Jones was booked and everything like that for the first time. Gone. Gone was the number one contender at that time, and obviously Jones beat the number one. Anyways, not the point. The point is this: Tom Aspinall, obviously going against Curtis Blades, he definitely got injured and things like that. So I want to see if he's more hesitant in this fight. Now he hasn't been hesitant, hasn't shown that he's been hesitant in his previous fights after Curtis Blades. So which is typically a good sign. You're not most fighters that get injured, especially an injury like that. they start getting hesitant and throwing leg kicks, things like that, because they fear another injury. So I definitely want to see how it plays out in a fight like this. If Tom Aspinall plays it more slowly, or if he goes all out, as well as other fights where it's, he's quick with it. So I'm excited for this fight, and super excited to see them fight. Obviously, these guys are dogs. I don't think it's going to end in decision whatsoever. I think first or second round knockout. If anything, honestly, if I got to call it, put money on the line, first round knockout. To who does it go to? Both of these guys have knockout power, and it's crazy. It's insane. Obviously, Tom Aspinall, every single win he's won has ended in a finish. And as a heavyweight, this guy can submit you. So that's the even scarier part that a lot of heavyweights don't carry, right? You got people like that. Obviously, the heavyweight division, they're very strong, they're very powerful. So it's also like they could kind of like just get you in a submission by force. So, you know what I mean? So I'm excited for this fight. Tom Aspinall is very quick with his feet. For a heavyweight, he moves super quick, super light on his feet, and that's what makes him dangerous. He clips you with one hit, kind of like what he did with Sergey Pavlovich, and they kind of like each exchange one shot only. Pavlovich hit him, didn't really do much, didn't really connect, but then Tom Aspinall hit him with one, knocked him out. So that's the scary thing. I'm very excited to see this fight. And let me know your guys' prediction. Obviously, as a fan, I feel like seeing other fans, most people are on Tom Aspinall's side. And I actually get that. Curtis Blades, obviously, he's kind of like just a veteran in the sport, but he still has that power and fight IQ in him and things like that. Tom Aspinall is kind of like the rising star. So I really like this fight. And yeah, I just let me know yours got your predictions. Basically, I kind of feel like I'm giving the edge to Tom Aspinall, especially I do want to see him, and that's the tricky part, and that's what I was going to say is, does he even fight John Jones or Stipe? Because it's like these guys are on the older side, like Jones and Stipe. I feel like are going to retire after their next fight, which I think both of them should. So, like I said, I'm just excited for the fight in general. Last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about the main event of the evening. And it's Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Now, this one, just being on social media and everything, has been getting mixed reviews. Reviews in the sense of if you guys are excited or not excited. The reason why, jokes aside, but on a serious note, these guys don't have a lot of knockouts on their belt. They're decision winning fighters, and they typically take it to distance. But in my opinion, Leon Edwards is still a very entertaining fighter. Bilal Muhammad, he's just a distance fighter. He plays it safe. So obviously he's fought more strikers, so he wrestles them mainly and wins by decision. So, but let's go ahead and get into it. We got Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Bilal, he's 23-3, 23 wins, 5 knockout wins, and 1 submission win. Like I said, out of 23 fights, he has 6 finishes, which isn't a lot. I think he had 2 in 2012, 1 in 2013. He had one recently, and we'll get into that. So I'll go ahead and get into his record, and then I'll talk about it. He's beat Burns, most recently beat Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Damian Maya, Diego Lima, and actually it's funny because Diego Lima is the gym here, ATT. But anyways, this guy, like I said, his last knockout was Sean Brady in 2022. I believe it was 2 years ago. Yeah, and yeah, so obviously Bilal and Leon have already fought. Obviously, it ended up in a no contest because of an eye poke, but yeah, so not really much finishes as a fan, which is why I understand the mixed reviews. But if you guys understand the caliber of fighters he's fought and the people he's fought, it's crazy, right? Bilal, there's no doubt he's good. And I mean, he beat Gilbert Burns, which is a great fighter. Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, which is a great striker, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, another great striker, Damian Maya. Like this is why I say uh, he's fought a lot of strikers, so he wrestles it, takes it calm and kind of plays it safe. So it makes sense, but I'm excited for this fight. And let's go ahead and get into Leon Edwards. They actually have very, very similar records. Leon Edwards, he's 22-3. He has 7 knockout wins, 3 submission wins. He just beat Covington. He's beat Kamaru Usman twice. Nate Diaz, he beat Dos Anjos, Cerrone, and Luque as well. So experience wise, both of these fighters are very close in experience. Obviously, Leon being the champ, he's fought the number one contender, he's fought the former champ and the number one contender as again. He's fought the top guys of the division for longer, and whereas Bilal Muhammad has made his way up the ladder, and now he's at the top as well. So Kobe Covington, decisive win. He beat Usman the first fight, very very first fight. Obviously, he's lost a long time ago, but after that, the second one that he got the championship belt, Usman was beating him, ragdolling him. Fifth round, head kick, and won the championship belt. But second fight, or the third fight technically, Leon and Usman fought again, and Leon won by decision, fair and square, and no doubt that he definitely won that. Now, this is where I go and always say it's very tough. For example, Usman, he was destroying Leon Edwards, and obviously to Kamaru Usman, he just got tagged. So Usman isn't really focused on perfecting more of his game, obviously perfecting it, but in the sense of like, oh, hey, I did this wrong. I did this wrong. No, because he was very great in that fight. Whereas Leon Edwards had to correct so many mistakes. And that's how you develop as a fighter. So this is where I always go to when it comes to fighters. If you realize fighters that get the rematch, things like that, they always or they have to like just I guess you could say defend their belt again or get their belt again, things like that. They always obviously do better than typically they do better than their opponent that the first time they fought. The reason why is because the one that doesn't need to did really well, they feel like, in my opinion, they kind of come with similar game plans, whereas the opponent comes with a crazy changeup of a game plan. So it's very hard to, in the sense of even coaching and things like that, it's very hard to come up with a different game plan when the first one worked so perfectly. So that's my biggest thing, and it makes sense. So obviously, without the no contest, Leon Edwards would be on a 12 fight win streak, which is crazy. And now Bilal's no contest. Bilal and him fought in 2021, so it's been 3 years. But like I said, very excited for this fight. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you guys predict the fights. And I really don't know how to predict this one. I honestly feel like Leon does have the edge in just experience and as a fighter and with his fight IQ. I really, always have liked Leon Edwards' fight IQ compared to, like, for example, like Bilal. He kind of just executes on a game plan. He doesn't really kind of I noticed that he doesn't switch up his game plan in the middle of the fight game, right? So, like I said, and especially the first time they fought, Leon did have the edge on Bilal. This is where I go back to this every time. It's like Leon is going to may go in there like, okay, let me do the same thing because I was tagging him, I tagged him, I had him wobbled, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Bilal was like, I'm changing my whole game plan because I realized the first one didn't work. So, like I said, very excited for this fight. I think Leon, as a fighter, has the edge, but if it comes to game plays and things like that, I feel like Bilal might have a bit of the edge because of their previous fight. But like I said, very excited for this fight. The fight game is, one shot and you're done. So, just let me know your guys' predictions. And yeah, so I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know if you guys want this shorter, if I should do a segment of prelims, And yeah, early prelims as well. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Call out Dana White for me. Let me get tickets to UFC event, and peace.